The CommonSensei here, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the I'm Just Sayin podcast. I'm going to be your tour guide through this minefield of what I like to refer to as uncommon sense. We used to refer to it as common sense, but it's just not very common anymore, so we probably need to change that term. I'm just saying. A little bit about myself before we begin today's episode. I have an over 30-year career in the military and law enforcement. And in addition to garnering a profound respect and admiration for the Constitution, our country, and the Founding Fathers, one thing that I've been able to take away from that career is a PhD in real-world shit. And that's what we're going to talk about in this podcast. We're going to talk about the things that affect us as Americans on the daily, but also for the long term, the short term, and the things that we need to do and educate ourselves and others on in order to maintain what the framers of the Constitution felt would be important in order to keep us from falling into tyranny. Before we do that and move on into the content, I want to take a moment to recognize and honor an icon in the conservative movement. On February 17th, we lost a brilliant man. Rush Limbaugh passed away, and I would like to send my condolences out to his wife, Catherine, and the entire EIB family for your loss. Rush, I started listening to him in 1992, and he really helped form and shape my understanding of what being a conservative really was or is. And being a conservative is not about being a Republican. The bottom line here is this. I'm not a Republican. I'm certainly not a Democrat or a liberal. What I am is a constitutional conservative. What does that mean? That means that as long as we are operating within the framework of the Constitution, then we're doing what we should be doing. When we start dancing around that in the gray area, when we start thinking that the Constitution is a dated document that no longer applies, then that's problematic. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about some of the things that are going on in this crazy world of ours now. Things have just been flipped upside down. So buckle your seatbelts, saddle up, because here we go. So in the category of holy shit, it's about time. President Biden had his first press conference today. 65 days into the administration, and he finally has a press conference. I'm assuming it took a while for them to coach him. They threw up a bunch of mainstream media softball reporters to him that just were throwing taters to him left and right. So he comes out and he starts talking about this progress report on where we're at in the first 65 days of his administration. Okay, so he talks about there's been 100 million people that have been vaccinated for the coronavirus. And obviously he takes credit for that, and okay, great. During his administration, 100 million people have been vaccinated. The vaccine was not developed on his watch. Operation Warp Speed, not on his watch. So President Trump put all this together and then, but receives no credit because, Biden gets elected and then decides that, hey, I'm the one that got this done because there's been 100 million people that have been vaccinated. And he says by his 100th day, 200 million people will have been vaccinated. You know what? It could be 200, it could be 250, 275, 300. Look, there's approximately 328.2 million people in the United States, okay? At some point, a vast majority of them are going to be inoculated against this thing because, well, there's a vaccine. Well, no shit. People are going to get vaccinated. That has nothing to do with sleepy Joe Biden. Man, they're getting this done, and it was going to get done without you, Joe. Whether President Trump got elected or didn't get elected, the vaccine was already made. All you did was ride coattails, okay? It's not about you. That's the thing about leadership that a lot of people don't get. Leadership's not about you. It's about the people you serve. And right now, the only people that are being served by this administration is the left. Not everybody. The great unifier is not unifying shit. Does anybody honestly think that Joe Biden is really running the show? Anybody? The guy can't even string 6 words together to make a sentence, okay? He can barely keep his eyes open. Somebody needs to just smack him every couple of seconds so he can go, oh yeah, that's right, what was I talking about? Anybody truly believe, anybody with a brain in between their 2 ears, is anybody out there watching this believe that Joe Biden is running shit? He's not running anything. The only thing Joe Biden is running is to the bathroom every now and then. All right, the guy is eating cream spinach and peaches through a straw on the daily, and we're supposed to believe that this guy's running the country effectively? I digress, right? So he's talking about schools, and he's talking about that within the first 100 days, he expects to have schools K through 8 fully opened, going 5 days a week to in-person classes again. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. I think we all kind of figured that at some point this pandemic was going to start to taper off a little bit and that kids would be going back to school. But why has it not already happened? Why has this not already occurred? Okay? Let's start getting these kids back into school. I'm going to tell you why schools are open. He says almost 50% of schools, K through 8, are back in the full swing of things. I'm not disputing that number. I don't know what the exact number is. But why is it 95% the number? Why isn't 100% the number? If it was up to Biden and the administration, it would be 0%. The whole reason why schools are even open at all has nothing to do with sleepy Uncle Joe. It has everything to do with the fact that the people of the United States are being tired of these controls put in place to tell them how to live their lives, where they can go, when they can go, how many people can go, who you can associate with, who you cannot associate with, what you can do, what you can't do. Can you go to church? I'm not sure. Probably not, because Christianity is under attack in this country. Whether you're a Christian or whether you're not a Christian, that should worry you. Because if you think that they're not coming for whatever group you belong to, you might want to think again. This is about control. And the only reason these schools are opening is because we have governors, we have county commissions, we have parents, we have city councils, we have schools, school administrators, we have people that understand that our children need to be getting an education. They need to be back in school. The only reason businesses are opening back up and the only reason why schools are opening back up and things are getting back to normal is because that's the natural progression of what should be happening. It's called common sense. There's that word again, common sense. When in all actuality, it's not very common, is it? Certainly isn't in Washington, okay? Now, certainly we have people that are fighting to do the right thing in Washington, but right now, those people are in the minority, okay? I'm just saying, believe what you want to believe. If you really want to think that this administration is honestly about unifying and coming together and making everything better for everybody, you better think again. So he goes on with his progress report and talks about new signs of hope for the economy, and he projects a 6% GDP growth. Yes, the economy took the hit. Yes, it was under President Trump's watch because there was a pandemic. And liberals freaked everybody out. Everything got shut down. Dr. Fauci, who, number one, doesn't even know how to tie his shoes the same way every day, says, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Nope, don't wear a mask. Well, maybe you should wear 2 masks. Stay 6 feet apart. Maybe it's 26 feet apart. 3 feet apart? I'm not really sure. This might be over in 6 months, but it could be 5 years. We're not really sure. Wear 15 masks, and then I'm sure sooner or later, everything will be okay. Okay, so 6% GDP growth. What did you think was going to happen, Joe? Hello, Joe. Of course. When the pandemic starts to recede, the economy is going to recover because people are going to go back to work. And if people go back to work, guess what? Less people are filing for unemployment. More people are working. The tax base becomes larger. And the economy gets better because people who are working spend money in the free market economy. This is so amazing. It's almost like it's supposed to be that way. What a guy. During this press conference, you have all these reporters that start standing up and asking him all these questions, and every one of them's a softball. And it's almost like they're leading him. It's like they're hopscotching forward for him. So he doesn't have to read a teleprompter. They've already prefabricated what it is that they're going to lay out for his leftist agenda, or the administration's leftist agenda. Right? What are we going to do about gun control? What are we doing about immigration? What are we doing about the filibuster? So we'll get to immigration. It's not a crisis, man. Yes, it is. Here's the thing. If you as an American citizen decide to leave the United States to go on a vacation, business, whatever the case may be, upon entry back in the United States, you have to provide a negative COVID test result in order to come back in the United States. Makes sense. We don't want to be spreading COVID-19 all over the place when we're just starting to try to get back to normal. However, if you're an illegal immigrant who has stormed the border in your Biden t-shirt, before they release you into the United States, you have to provide also a negative COVID result, right? Wrong. You don't even have to take a COVID test if you're an illegal immigrant. We just say, hey, nice t-shirt. And then we release you into the population, not only without a COVID test, but we also don't even give you a court date anymore. So you can come in if you have coronavirus or whatever. We don't care. And you can spread it all over the place. And guess what? Who knows when you're going to go to court? Never. If anyone doesn't see what's coming here, it's because A, you're blind, or B, you're just completely naive. If you don't think for 1 second that the Biden administration is gearing up to give mass amnesty to people, you may want to check your headgear. I'm just saying. Why is it that there's so many illegal immigrants that have t-shirts that say, Biden, please let me in? Why are there so many people that are thanking President Biden because now they can come into the country? Where are they getting these Biden t-shirts? Let me get this straight. You don't have enough money in order to make it in Mexico or Guatemala or Honduras or Venezuela or wherever it is that you're coming from up through the Mexican border. But somehow you have enough money for a Biden t-shirt? I don't think so. These shirts are being given to them. Does anybody not see this? Why is that question not being asked by anybody? Where are these shirts coming from? I want a, hey Biden, let me in t-shirt. Don't you? President Biden says this happens every year. This surge of immigrants at the border, it's a yearly occurrence. It's an annual celebration of migration from Central and South America into North America, particularly the United States, and it always happens during the winter months of January, February, and March. That's not true at all. Now, annually we do see a spike. Traditionally, it happens in May. Where this statistic comes from of January, February, and March, I don't know where he got that statistic. Obviously, one of his advisors said, hey, just say this, because 99% of America is going to buy it. At least 99% of the ones that watch mainstream media, right? But those of us, again, with a little bit of brain matter upstairs, know the truth. And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe! Now, President Biden loves to take credit for anything good within the immigration policy of the United States, which isn't a lot, but those things that are good, he likes to take credit for because, as we all know, as Vice President of the United States during the Obama administration, he's the one that at least self-proclaims that he ran the show when it comes to immigration policy. This administration is the same administration that is pointing fingers at President Trump and President Trump's administration for keeping kids in cages. Now, I'm not for keeping kids in cages. In fact, I think it's very immoral. However, those cages came into being under the Obama administration. Now, you don't hear President Biden claiming credit for that. In fact, what he does is he points the finger at President Trump. How predictable. Anything good that happens, we take credit for. Anything bad that happens, we point the finger at the previous Trump administration. One of the reporters asked President Biden what his intentions are. Is he going to run in 2024? Now, whether he is or whether he isn't is immaterial to the fact that he can't figure out whether he is or he isn't. And quite honestly, even if he's still alive at that point, he's going to be so far gone mentally that he's basically going to be drooling on himself. I don't think he's going to run. And let's be quite honest. I think Kamala Harris is kind of hoping that he doesn't even make it through the current administration and the current 4 years. Check this out.
Then, on a related note, have you decided whether you are going to run for re-election in 2024? You haven't set up a re-election campaign yet, as your predecessor had by this time.
My predecessor needed to. My predecessor. Oh, God, I miss it.
Have you?
No, the answer is yes. My plan is to run for re-election. That's my expectation.
You also just made some news by saying that you are going to run for re-election.
I said that is my expectation.
So is that a yes, that you are running for re-election?
Look, I don't know where you guys come from, man. I've never been able to travel. I'm a great respecter of fate. I've never been able to plan 3.5 years ahead for certain.
That's a no-shitter.
And if you do run, will Vice President Harris be on your ticket?
I would fully expect that to be the case. She's doing a great job. She's a great partner.
Careful, Joe. She's waiting.
Partner. She's a great partner.
And do you believe you'll be running against former President Trump?
Oh, come on. I don't even think about it. I have no idea. I have no idea whether there'll be a Republican Party.
He doesn't even know if there's going to be a Republican Party? That's pretty telling on what the Democrats have in store over the next several years. I'm just saying. Buckle your seatbelts. The ride is just beginning. I'm the CommonSensei, and thanks for tuning in to I'm Just Sayin. We'll see you next week.